All right. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining again. To my audience, you are a very dedicated few so far, but I hope that this continues to grow. We have a very special guest today on the depths of healthcare. And, in this episode, we'll kind of be changing up, checking out a little bit more of the tech side of healthcare and seeing what our guest has to offer. Without further ado, introduce Chris Kaspar. Why don't you
Awesome.
introduce
Hey,
yourself?
yeah. Hey, everyone. Great to meet you guys. I'm excited about this conversation because I have lived in the consumer tech space, creating a healthy phone for people. Well, that does have some overlap with what you're doing. I think increasingly more so. Mental health interacts with physical health. We're starting to see the connections there. And I'm in the mental health space in a sense, making digital spaces for kids and also for adults actually a much better place for them to live. And so we're very aligned in our purpose here, but I'm excited about the conversation because I've done like 100 podcasts and I've yet to do a healthcare specific one. So this will be good. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So excited to have you. So why don't you talk about like the business that you run and how you found yourself getting into it and what inspired you to kind of go that direction and what product you're producing for people?
Yeah. So I'll give you the 1,000 foot view, dive into anything specific. But like probably 6 years ago or so, I had foster kids, 10 and 13-year-old girls, and they were doing really dark stuff on their phones and sending
Mm,
pictures to older men with less clothes than they should have. And I'm like, okay, this is like not the way that this thing should work. And so that sort of kicked off a journey for me, asking, what can we do for them? Why is this the broken system that we're facing today? Like finding solutions at the device level. Wait, there's nothing there. Okay, let's make a phone that could help them. And then it became, hey, this is bigger than just kids. It's actually the world at large. There's a lot of really perverse incentives in the digital spaces. And so that's kind of become my life's purpose over the last few years. And I've just sold tens of thousands of phones here. I'm helping people live more full lives.
wow, that's really special. And you have that firsthand experience that has kind of inspired you towards that. What steps have you taken to kind of produce this phone, or what's different about this phone for and who are you marketing to specifically, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we kind of went through the classic startup journey, started with the MVP and then market test and like friends and family fundraising round, and then raised more institutional investors, venture, whole nine yards.
Right.
But initially, we thought it was for kids. And I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of kids, and kids don't want kids' phones. So
Mm,
we made a very sophisticated device. I had the top UX designer in the world work with the man that led the team to create iPad Gen 1. We worked
wow.
together, made this really cool, clean device called Wyse Phone. It was a minimalist phone. It could call, text, clocks, map, calculator, like 8 tools. We built it from the ground up, an OS. It was like really robust, complex stuff.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, people are like, wait, I like this. And we at 80% of our sales are to adults.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we made it for kids. Adults love it. It gives them peace of mind, freedom, creativity, reclaim their lives. And since then, that was a very minimalist product. We've actually evolved some and now have a healthy phone. Wise Phone 2 is healthy, where we allow other third party tools that we curate. So, other third party apps, banking apps, medical apps, just the basics you need, transportation to live life, but no social media, no distractions, no explicit content, nothing you can get yourself in trouble with. And so
Right.
that's kind of what we're currently working on right now. Wise Phone 2, we've sold thousands of those, and we're right in the middle of what we call a healthy phone.
Oh, that's really cool. So you include in your kind of next gen development of this Wise Phone 2, I mean, like LinkedIn or Uber or stuff like that that could be business appropriate and could be transportation appropriate.
Yeah, so there's this continuum between unhealthy and healthy. And like unhealthy is like the worst, like TikTok and just terrible stuff, that just destroys your life and your soul. And then healthy is like the most basic practical tools. And there's this gray line in the middle. And like LinkedIn is a good example of like it's a social media site. And social
Totally.
media causes anxiety. Spotify's right there in the middle, but slightly on the positive side. So we're kind of playing that dance, curating apps, but largely speaking, the more practical and useful and non-distracting a tool is. If you're going to use it for 5 minutes a day, get something done, get off, it's on there. And the more it sucks of your life, and the more likely it's not going to be there. But we've approved 1,000 apps at this time. So
1,000 apps. Wow. And so what with that approval process to determine what's healthy versus unhealthy, you kind of went into it, but let's talk about health, I guess, diving in a little bit more. So obviously TikTok and these things kind of the social media crisis, we could call it. Talk more about that, like the anxiety levels, the depression levels, the suicide rates. I mean, what kind of insight you have into that hemisphere.
Yeah, totally. I mean, everyone knows it. I don't even need to sit here and spout statistics anymore. 5 years ago, when I talked about what I was doing, everyone thought I was crazy. Like, why are you making this phone? I love it. Now where everyone's like, oh, I love it. I get it. They're nod their heads. So I really don't have to quote the statistics other than some of the big ones, which are like, hey, teen suicide rates have quadrupled since the smartphones came out. I mean, just like, and then just everyone universally anxious and depressed. There was a Deloitte study a couple years ago that's like 56% of Americans want to cut back on their smartphones and they
Hmm.
can't. Like, there is this tension that is now front and center of we are at odds with our free technology because it's
Right.
actually not free. It costs us time and attention. And so we were kind of ahead of the curve and innovating in that space, and we're still there. But yeah, there's some big lies that are embedded in some of our consumer tech, and we are like confronting those, redefining what the way things should be as we're working on that definition of healthy tech.
I see. I see. So kind of developing as we go kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think to truly have wisdom, you have to. I mean, I've got psychologists, I've got experts, I've got theologians, I've got a lot of people feeding into this definition of what it
Hmm.
is, and it's iterative, and we base it on research and we base it on experience. And like,
Hmm.
something terrible happens on one of our devices, which actually doesn't happen that often, but like we take that into consideration and are constantly like nudging that definition because no one's doing it. We are literally like cutting edge, best in the world, and we're not
Totally.
even that sophisticated, but just it's just a blank slate, and so we're the ones defining it.
Yeah. And you mentioned, we're paying in time and attention. Like those are two things. But I think the third product, and you can speak more to this, is how much does your soul cost? I think what I see in the kind of the healthcare industry at this point is people love meds and people love getting you to see a therapist. And there's the support system behind the scenes that nobody really talks about as much in the healthcare industry as a whole. But how much do you actually care about your soul? And you can lose your soul, or your soul can take these little micro steps in certain directions based on what you have exposure to. And I think environment plays into that a lot.
Absolutely. And that's like that ties all the way back to the moment I had with foster kids. When we actually gave them an Amazon Alexa device, and the boundaries around that device. Here's a non-visual way to interact with the internet. Like, the boundaries actually created an environment that they could thrive more within. Like, the worst they could do is listen to some terrible rap music. That didn't nearly erode their soul like you were talking about, the way some of this other behavior did. And we actually take that very seriously. In fact, all of tech calls their people users. That's their
Right.
customers. Like, that's the
Right.
same as narcotics, like users. I use you, there's this relationship. We actually took from ship captains that on sea, a captain of a ship stewards souls. How many souls do I have on board? That's his
Mm,
responsibility. And we actually internally use that phrase because we recognize the gravity of the weight of the design philosophies that we have as a platform, that people are entrusting their very lives and souls and
yeah.
relationships to us to steward how they interact. And we are constantly asking questions around that. So spot on in what we're up to here.
Wow. And that even just that little delineation, right, of users versus souls. I mean, that makes a massive difference in how you approach your marketing,
Yeah.
you
One's a
know?
number, one's a human being, one's a thing that I make money off of, an object. And the other one is like, hey, when you call us on customer service, we care deeply about you. There's just like such a bifurcation in the way that we think about people, and we scale slower because of that. I mean, there's a lot of
Totally.
consequences to us as a company, but we're willing to make those sacrifices. Our investors are willing to make those sacrifices. And it's different than a classic venture model, which is like, we're not seeking unicorn status. We're actually measuring transformation in the lives of the people we're using. And it's not about a billion downloads. It's about how deep are we changing lives. And so just different metrics here.
You're the anti-startup in tech.
I guess it just means we grow a little slower, but I think with our head on our shoulders and our hearts intact, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. You still have a soul. That's the big thing. So 6 years in, and what direction do you see you're kind of obviously you've built a good foundation at this point. You've gotten, good startup capital and you're developing a great product. And obviously your trajectory is not to, skyrocket, but for what I'm assuming and what I'm hearing you say is that you foresee good growth. And what are some things that are helping your system to grow and your product to grow and kind of the interest to grow? And what other things specifically are slowing it down, either from you or the world and the community?
Yeah, great question. So peeling back the layer behind the scenes of the company
Sure.
here.
Yep.
We are growing well. I'm not pursuing it, but we've like 5x since this time last year. So like
Okay.
good stuff is happening. And that's a testament to my team and what they're up to. But future for us, we want to dive deeper into defining healthy tech in a more clear way. We've built it. Now we need to unpack it for the world. And so we've got some content, podcasts, film, weowndoomscroll.com, some stuff like that. That's amazing. And the board of directors said, you got something really powerful here. And we want to, in a sense, canonize what healthy tech is in the way that Whole
Mm,
Foods canonized, hey, here's what organic and fair trade looks like. Like they pioneered some of that, and we're on in that same space in the digital health space. So big content plays for us. And then the other piece is, are you talking about challenges we've had? We're playing in a world of giant elephants. And so, yeah, we've raised a few $1 million, but like we're going up to people that have raised like billions or, 500 million. And like the stuff we've built on like our budget has been
scraps.
a joke. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
relative to what other people have done.
Right.
And so we've had organic cult like followings in our brand, 90% growth from non-paid media, just stuff like that's been a big boon for us.
Right.
But there are constraints to only have raised just a few $1 million instead of like tens of millions. And that's kind of probably the biggest constraint for us from, growing much faster.
Sure. But what I'm hearing you say is that it more matters about growing deeper for you guys rather than growing faster. Can you expand on that and why that's so special for you as the kind of the driver behind it?
Yeah, and we're not anti-growth, but it's about what are the consequences of
Mm,
like, okay, we have three things that make us unique, and one of those three is impact. And that we prioritize the impact we're having on people above everything else. So if we could grow 10x in this next year, great. I don't care. Like I'm not stopping that. But what it means is that we have to have our ducks in a row on the product side. We have to be serving people. We're not going to just like make, in fact, to our detriment, we took 18 months, almost 2 years of R&D before we launched our first product. One of our competitors launched within 3 months and they had outsourced development from Chinese companies. And it just kind of served the customers, but it was 2.5 stars for a while. And they gained a ton of market share because of that, because they were first to market. And, at the end of the day, I'm sleeping fine at night, even though we're a much smaller piece of the market share. So it's just these constant tensions. But basically, baseline, are we changing people's lives in the way we want to? And if not, we circle back up to that at the cost of growth. So that's our hurdle. Once we check that box, we can do what we want.
totally. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Speaking actually just to this specific product space, one of my really, really good friends just got one of those block phones, which I assume is from one of your competitors because it's not the Wyse Phone.
Yeah, yeah,
But he ordered it 8 months ago,
yeah,
so 6 months ago, just came in like 3 weeks
yeah.
ago.
And we've had moments in that too. I mean, we're doing complicated stuff, and so it just takes months. So that's just kind of the world we're in.
Hmm.
That's why brand and integrity matter so much, is because you're asking people to trust you. So
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you're having this you probably have this very niche following, but it's not widespread yet because it's mostly word of mouth, I'm assuming so far.
yeah, lots of word of mouth. The niches for us have been interesting. Like Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but we've had tremendous movement in the Catholic spaces. And
Really?
then, yeah, and then the homeschool communities, like
Oh, yeah.
moms telling moms and they have kids. And here's the deal. It's not even for their kids. It's just, if you're a homeschooler, you're a little bit like anti the system the way it is. So you think differently and you care about relationships and do intentional things in your life. And those two factors are like, okay, they're interested in what we're doing because we are about relationships and it's not quite a normal smartphone. So you're a little bit unusual
Right, right.
and that works well for
They're
us.
like, "Yep, that's what we want." What now kind of shifting gears a little bit here, I guess. How do you see kind of the AI evolution and boom kind of having impact in your field, either with your product specifically or with the business around the product?
Yeah. So of course we're tapping into the AI tools internally as I
Mhm.
mean, making everything, songs, strategies, music, ads, creative photos, you name it. Like we're just using the stuff. Okay. With caution. We're not like, we definitely are a little bit slower to adopt than a lot. We're not just blindly dumping in. But then the bigger thing for us is I'm in a sense a philosopher of technology and what healthy tech is. And I'm keeping my finger on the pulse. And this next age that we're entering, we're kind of ending the information age, diving into the insight age.
Right.
There's a lot of principles. People are like saying, "Oh, AI is dangerous," but they're not talking about the principles that guard and protect it. And so we're kind of fleshing out what does that look like, even making it in our own product. And so we're using AI very cautiously, very restricted with bounds that philosophically align with what healthy tech is. And we're dabbling in that. And I think we might in the future put in some serious stakes in the ground that will be deterrents that might even chop the knees off of some of the larger companies in the future.
Right. Right. So what do you I guess is more of what's the process behind that? Can you give us a little bit of a glimpse into what that process kind of looks like in determining, the philosophy behind choosing which tools are effective and which tools might be detrimental?
Internally for us,
Yeah.
we
Just a
we have
glimpse.
yeah, yeah. Basically, we've established some fundamental principles of like some rules that we abide by. Like, for example, we say we never want to act. We don't want AI to act like a human. So if we ever use it, it has a very clear robot name. You know what I mean? And there's a deception in that. And we don't want to ever interact. So we have the option. I mean, I tested a customer service agent. It was crazy. We fed it our database of all our customer service stuff and called this thing and talked to it. And it was like a real person. And it was amazing the conversation we had. But yet that crosses the line ethically for us in
Yeah.
deception. Now, if we had some disclaimer said, "Hey, would you like to talk to an AI customer service agent that can solve 85% of problems?" Click one. Okay, one, boom. That's totally different equation. So, like, that's one of the examples of the philosophies that we have. I mean, we could go down a few others, but that's we basically have a set of like 5 or 6 principles, and then just fall within that or out of it is where we're at currently.
Sure. Do you find yourself in kind of the tech hemisphere being kind of an outlier in this sense of actually having philosophies kind of to guide your business?
Some yes, some no. The worlds
Okay.
that I'm in, like I just finished a 3-day retreat with a bunch of men in Colorado, and we're all business owners, and and this was one of the major topics of conversation. We talk about it. We
Oh,
get
no way.
together twice a year, and we talk about it every time we get together. And we're constantly just this is how some of this stuff is birthed. Like these guys are brilliant business people, multi-million-dollar businesses, and they have an idea, and I add it, and we hone and refine each other. So there's a very verbal sparring component in real life philosophically, like meta, how does this affect the world, how does it affect me, how does it affect my family, how does like that's the type of conversations that we're constantly sharpening one another on.
Hmm. That's really
So
cool.
I don't feel too isolated in this because that's my community of very
Good.
intentional business owners.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay. That's also encouraging. You don't it's hard to be that outlier if you actually are truly on your own.
Yeah, in fact, actually, I started this group probably 3 years ago. Funny thing is, I showed up for the first time and they started talking in like 6 lectures. And I was like, these are all the crazy ideas I've had that I've never heard anybody say before. And it just resonated with so much of what I had. And they like put language to something that I could feel, but I couldn't articulate. And so it's there. You
Wow.
just had to find it. So
You created the community in a sense.
yeah, I tapped into one that was really strong already. So I was blessed. I mean, these are my best. These are my running mates, and we're all around the nation, all around the world, actually, which I never wanted friends hundreds of miles away, but I'm a face to face in real life,
Totally.
local, like let's hang out and smoke cigars type of guy.
Yeah.
But this is how we level each other up, and it's hard to find that in this little town I'm at with 2,000 people. So
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that can be a challenge sometimes. What other kinds of things do you see kind of, let's say, a 5-year plan when you're thinking about health and tech and, kind of raising families in this next generation? What's your kind of like your overall view of kind of where your company kind of fits
yeah, so
into that
I
world?
have. Yeah, I have my aspirations, and then what happens happens. So, like, here's the shooting for the moon, and then it could fall short. But genuinely speaking, I want to have a seat at the table and legitimately defining what healthy technology is for the next generation. So just if you think about fast food, when the automat McDonald's version 1 first came out, it was like put a nickel in, it was like magical and wonderful and everyone loved it. Same thing with cigarettes. Like, oh, this is great. And
Yeah.
then cultural adopted it. Everyone was doing it, everyone was smoking, everyone was like loving the milkshakes. And then there was this moment where like, wait a second, this is giving us cancer, this is making us fat, supersize me, like all that stuff. And then it becomes less healthy, or like there's actually consumer pushback, there's regulations,
Hmm.
schools start changing their meals, and there's a whole countercultural industry that comes out of the magical unhealthy trend. And so we've positioned ourselves to be the primary
Mhm.
thought leader in the
Mhm.
solution of what healthy technology should be in the countercultural trend. And I feel like we've actually hit the peak and are actually starting to come down. The social dilemma was a stake in the ground. Everyone's talking about social. I mean, like I said, 7 years ago, I was crazy. Now everyone gets it. Okay, you can see
Mhm.
the unhealthy trend, people, but no one knows what to do. No one, like, we just have
Exactly.
the dilemma, the problem, and no one has the solution. And so I really want to be, even at the government level in the UK and
Mhm.
the US, like regulations, what are the policies, UN. I mean, like, that's the kind of conversations I'm starting to be in and want to have a seat at the table and like defining this next 30, 60 years of what healthy is. Because if you get that wrong, you're just going to sell another lie that's going to make people worse off than they are currently. And I just see there's this going to be this battle over what's good for us. And the
Yeah,
AI tech billionaire giants have their perspective. And
of course they do.
I have a different one, and we're at odds. So
It's cool because you already have a vision of what the legacy could be, or at least you're trying to position yourself in, those circles where you can have that impact.
yeah. And
And,
and
you
and
can leave it for all your kids in that generation.
totally. And I like 100% when I started this, I was like, how cool would it be if we could have a porn free smartphone be the default for kids, you know, until they're age 18 or whatever? Like, if that was just the default, and then maybe you could hack or work your end, but just think about the difference in the way the whole world would operate if that was the healthy default. And apply that to multiple other things, that's fine. And that was an idea, but the truth is, because of the communities that have just popped up and the relationships I've had and some of the stuff and the credibility we've earned through Techless and Wyse Phone, I think that is a very real reality in the next 5, 7 years. I mean, look at what YouTube did with their age verification, and the UK just did the Online Safety Act, and we've got the Take It Down Act. Like, I know the people that are doing all of these things that are actually national. And sure, there's pushback and censorship
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
privacy. I mean, there's two sides to the coin, and but in general, I see a reality where Apple and Google and, Nokia and all these guys start making like, hey, you have to age verify your way into pornography, which is actually the legal way to do it. We do it for alcohol and tobacco
Yeah,
in the
totally.
future. And so I get excited about stuff like that.
Totally. I mean, not everybody's going to get excited, but we need the people that are excited to advocate for themselves and the ones that actually want to make a healthy change. How difficult, and the proof is also in the pudding a little bit. Like, if you see results that are producing and making healthier lives, and you can point to this as an aspect of it. Obviously, there's so many more, you know, so many more things involved with a healthy life. But this is the front and center of our generation right now.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's just kind of an immature dialogue right now. Like the US, I mean the UK. I've just been my feed, all of the stuff is negative around their age verification laws right now. It's just like,
Mm.
censorship, all this type of stuff. But I'm like, hey, there are sophisticated ways from a design perspective to make things happy medium, happy balance between two. And like an example would be with Wyse Phone. We didn't have a single app that could hurt you. It was 8 apps. Okay, that was too restrictive. It was too minimalist. 1% of people in the world could use it. Wyse Phone 2 has 1,000 apps that are curated, but we're launching a new iPhone called Sage Mobile in the UK. And we've actually switched our philosophy to now parents can actually add things that we philosophically don't think are healthy, like a game for their kids. I don't love that idea, but what are we going to do? We're going to like throw up warning signs and be like, I don't think you should do this, mom and dad. But so we find that balance between like freedom and healthy. And at least the defaults are healthy and the caveats are healthy and the education is healthy instead of the opposite, where a kid downloads the Grok app that's rated 4+ in the App Store. And next thing you know, talking to some anime waifu character that wants to have sex with you because that's the way the world currently is. So like, yes, it's a little bit bumbly, but we're working our way towards happy balances between these.
Yeah, totally. I'm just appreciative that you're actually fighting that battle because, like you said, a lot of people are, when the social dilemma came out, I remember it. I mean, talking with my group of friends and my group of people that I'm around, and everyone was very impacted by it. But what to do? Which way do you turn? Do you just cancel Netflix? Do you, I don't know, just sign off on all social media? Is that the
Become
healthy, like,
Amish, right?
yeah, I just like sell everything and move to,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah. No, and literally that's the conundrum that we're facing, which is, hey, the world is hyper connected and it burns us out. And the only alternative we have is to check out and be disconnected. And I'm saying, wait, there's a happy medium. It takes thinking, and it's sophisticated and it's nuanced, but it's called the healthy tech way. And it's like that fine balance between not being hyper connected, but still having, that's what I'm pursuing right now.
I'm wondering how this can also be evolved. Obviously, the phones are the biggest thing right now, but have you thought about how to be involved like on personal computers and stuff like that at home? I don't know if that's ever been an issue for you guys or thoughts being thrown
We
around.
we've thought about it. I thought we'd be doing it by now. The truth is the phones are such an intimate part of our lives.
Yeah.
They're like fused to us. You
Yeah.
can't remove yourself. And so I thought I'd be on computers and televisions and network, software for like, you know,
Yep.
even carrier level protections for like AT&T. I thought we'd be there, and we're just making so much progress in changing people's lives in profound ways just with this one simple product that there's so much low hanging fruit. We're just scooping it up right now and not worrying
Yeah.
about the rest.
It's like
And
find the
we'll
niche
get
and
there.
yeah, exactly. You'll get there eventually, but find the niche and then make the most impact that you can right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Because our design philosophies are pretty much universal. In fact, we switched from Android to iPhone. It was like our product manager didn't even blink. It was just, I know exactly how to configure this thing. And like, I mean, it's not tech. It's actually just thinking different. That's the only thing we're bringing to the table. And so it's universal, but we just have enough work right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have a lot ahead of you, it sounds like. A lot behind, but also a lot ahead to look forward to. And then I guess kind of closing thoughts, any kind of closing remarks or thoughts for the listeners, as you kind of share kind of your platform and your business.
Yeah, I would just say, okay, if you're a physician or in the healthcare space, I'll just throw this out there. This is a real thing that is like humongous. Like it is taking over. It is hugely important. And I would just say, have the courage to lean into people's lives because you're interacting day to day with people. Lean into their lives, make a suggestion. And it doesn't even have to, I don't care. Go talk to one of our competitors. But I would just recommend for kids, teens, adults, as you see these issues pop up, don't stick your head in the sand. You have some professional responsibility for the mental health and, as you said, their souls even. And this is a real thing. So many physicians I see just kind of like brush it to the side and here's some medicine. Don't do that. So there's one piece for that particular audience, the small business owners and just other people listening. I would say just even for yourself personally, if you feel conviction around one thing that you should do different in your digital habits or digital life, lean into that. And I promise you won't regret it because that's like the first step in hundreds that actually will massively improve your life. It's like exercise or all the things that you say your clients should do, but like take an ounce, a dose of your own medicine and have it stack into one healthier digital thing, and you'd be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. Make one little change and then lean into it as hard as you can and see what can happen.
Yeah, because I mean, I struggle with this. That's one of the other reasons why I made this. And so 6 years, I've been constantly iterating on healthier digital life. And my marriage has gotten better. Relationship with my kids has gotten better. I get 3 times as much work done. And it's just been, I'm a different man than I was 7 years ago. So, but it
See,
took
and
years to,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It took years, but also you can point back to your own experience. I mean, not many people can look at and say, "Oh, my product, I don't use it. Yeah, it's just for the users." But you're saying, "No, I'm a soul that I wanted to practice this on."
yeah. In fact, I have like 30 phones and I like SIM swap all the time. I'm constantly, they call it dog fooding in the industry where you're using your own product and I'm beta testing stuff. And like there was a moment there where I had like a full-fledged iPhone and I just felt like depression, anxiety. I was just like, it was not a good moment. I'm like, okay, put the SIM back in the Wyse Phone. Like it just, so I just don't trust myself. And that's why I have a boundary here. So
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and that's where our future is. But for all listeners, if you want to reach out, I'll include Chris's info or maybe not his info, but at least his company's information so that you can research them more and, at least, give him a shout or give his team a shout if you're curious about it. So, Chris, thanks for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate your time.
yeah, great conversation. This was a unique angle I haven't gotten to dive into a lot. So thanks for the great questions and the preparation, Ben.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, good to have you. We'll catch you later. Okay.
Sounds good.